Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Only Football Podcast, episode number 100. Tonight, we're going to be doing our predictions for week 17. We're going to be talking about clinching scenarios for each team as well, because we're only 2 weeks away from the playoffs. And then, of course, we're going to end off with a little chives with Kyle. Let's get it.
What is going on? Welcome to the Only Football Podcast. My name is Kyle, and that is Rick.
I'm Rick, that's Kyle.
And we got 2 more weeks of football before the season is officially over for regular people like you and me. But for the elites, they get to continue to enjoy football, and we're going to discuss which teams we think are going to make that move. There's a lot at stake this week. The Dolphins, the Ravens, the Bills in a big game with the Pats. A lot of really meaningful football, and potentially we talked about the Ravens game being a Super Bowl rematch or a Super Bowl preview. Now we're looking at the same Ravens team, and we're like, maybe this is an AFC Championship preview. But 2 very important games. We just got done watching the Browns punch their playoff ticket with a win, and Joe Flacco looked really good in that game. Very impressive. And you should definitely check out our recap video. But we're going to start on Saturday because there is Saturday football this week, and it's going to be an important one. It looks like a turkey when I look at it. I just see this and I see a turkey. And Rick, do you know why I see a turkey?
I do not. I assume just because you're hungry and possibly a pilgrim.
That is not true. It's because this is what Thanksgiving is all about. Detroit and Dallas play every year. This is the battle of Thanksgiving. And the Lions are taking on the Stars. And this is going to be an important game for Dallas. And if you wondered if it's important for Detroit, Dan Campbell said it was. Okay. And if you look at what Mike McCarthy said in his press conference, he said, this is the most important game of the year. I'm paraphrasing, but he also said the most difficult he said important, most important matchup of the year. So Dallas is definitely taking this serious. It's going to be at home. Detroit's playing good football the last 2 weeks after climbing out of a weird post-midseason funk. And I look at this game and I think, well, Dallas is so damn good at home. Is that Detroit resurgence enough to bring a loss to Dallas? I don't know. Could you talk me into a side here?
Yeah, you bring up great points. First of all, the Thanksgiving one, I like that. I was actually thinking about that earlier. I was like, oh, hey, we got the Thanksgiving bowl, really, when you think about it. And I didn't even connect the 2 dots when you said I'm looking at a turkey. Good job, Kyle. I like it.
Thank you.
So, man, both these teams are playing well. Obviously, Dallas just lost to the Dolphins last week. They lost by 2 points, 3 points, whatever it was. And Detroit, like you said, is coming out of a slump and has been playing well. They just clinched the NFC North, so they are on the up and up. They clinched the playoff spot. Really, this game is coming down to seeding for Detroit, for the Lions. For Dallas, they want to win these next 2 weeks and hope that Philly can lose one of these weeks so they can at least try to go for the home field advantage by taking the NFC East. But in this case, I think I'm going to go with Dallas. I think Dallas is going to take the dub here. They're undefeated at home this season, 7-0. And whether or not I'm about to jinx it for them or everybody else is about to jinx it for them is yet to be seen. Obviously, right? It's gonna be on Saturday, and it's gonna be a really good game. I just think that Dallas does edge out Detroit. They have the better defense, and their offense seems to be a little bit more consistent as the season has gone on. They've lost some games, but those losses have come few and far in between. You talk about Arizona, San Francisco, Miami just the other week. So whereas Detroit, they've shown quite a bit of weakness, right? They've shown quite a bit of weakness. I've talked about it. Jared Goff turnovers, the defense letting up a ton of points to let's be honest, offenses that shouldn't be putting up that many points against an NFL team. And it's the NFL week to week. It's going to be tough no matter what team you go up against. You just saw the Packers struggle against the Panthers, for example, right? And they're probably one of the worst teams in the league, the worst team in the league to be exact. But I'm going to go with Dallas at home, man. Their offensive output versus at home versus away is just ridiculous. And Dak Prescott, there was a game where I think it was against the Eagles where we're like, Dak Prescott is the clear MVP. Week to week, the NFL changes in terms of feelings for MVP and stuff like that. But I think he's been one of the more consistent quarterbacks in the league too. And, MVP talks is not out of the question, not out of the realm of possibility. I think he's going to play an MVP this Saturday. And I think he's going to take the dub against the Detroit Lions. Lions, again, playing for seeding, really when you boil down to it, but the Dallas Cowboys, they're going to have a plan of attack against these Lions and get the dub.
Yeah, and real quick too, I want to congratulate the Lions for winning their first division title in 30 years. Before this season, the last time they won a division title, the NFC Central was the division.
Mm-hmm.
No NFC North.
Yeah, it was weird. And Tampa Bay was in it. Tampa Bay was in the NFC Central. That was so weird.
Yeah, and their two biggest fans were Axel Foley and Tim the Toolman Taylor, who aren't even real people. So I'm just gonna throw this out there. Is it possible that with the Lions achieving such a dramatic award, that they're due for a letdown performance? It's a real part of the game. It's a real part of the game that you have to consider. But I think Dan Campbell's going to have his boys ready to go. The Cowboys have won 15 straight games at home, and that includes going 7-0 so far this year. So not only are they winning, but none of these games are even close if you look at the point differential. I think it's really hard to go against the Cowboys in this situation. Give me the Lions.
Oh,
the Lions. Give me the underdog. The Lions hitting the road with nothing but their suitcases full of grit. I think that they're going to come into this game and they are going to upset the Cowboys and give them their first home loss in 16 games. Let's go. Lions win 30-20.
Oh, 30-20. I like the score. I'm going to go score-wise. I am going to go Cowboys 35, Lions 27. Yeah.
Okay.
Cowboys 35, Lions 27. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Wrong. It's going to be a high-scoring game for sure.
And nobody's taking the Lions in this game. Not that I've found. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. The last thing I'll say about that game is if Dallas loses it, the whole thing about them being frauds is going to be important. Now, this is for real the last thing I wanted to say, but this game is kind of weird when you think about it, Rick, because we say that the Cowboys were frauds for not beating a good opponent, and then they lost to Miami, and we were like, yeah, but they played a really close game, so we've gone back to like normal reality. This is a Dallas coming off of a loss against a Miami team who had to prove that they weren't frauds because they hadn't beaten anybody good, and Dallas lost to them by 3. Now you have a Lions team who's potentially better than both of those teams coming into town, and we're backing the Cowboys like that because they score a lot at home. Who
Yeah.
have they beaten at home that is
Everyone.
better than the Detroit Lions this year? They haven't, and they don't have a victory that is as strong as this Lions team on the whole season. So I just think when you consider all that, I don't know if the Lions even should be underdogs here, but they are, and I'm going with them this week.
And one more thing that is leaning more towards your side about picking the Lions, the underdog on Monday Night Football, which technically this Saturday game is, it's a Monday Night Football broadcast. The underdog has won for, I believe, 9 weeks straight. The Ravens just beating the 49ers Monday Night Football. The Lions could do it and continue that streak on Monday Night Football. The underdogs winning games. We got Andy in the chat.
We got Andy. I think everybody that's watching this live with us, and even the people that are going to watch this a little bit in the future, maybe you're going to be watching this in the future because you're a Ravens fan and you want to know if we think that your guys have what it takes to beat Miami at home. Ravens are going to be the favorite in this game because they're coming off of the most impressive win that any team could be coming off of, and that's the 49ers, where they handled the 49ers. Now, Miami comes off that win at home, but now they have to hit the road, and this is for a lot. There's a lot at stake because if Miami wins, then they would be the number 1 seed. So Miami's going to come in and they're going to give them their best shot. And the reason I slowed down there for a second is because I wanted to look at the weather. And right now in Baltimore, it says 51 degrees, a low of 34, partly cloudy. So I don't see weather being a factor in this game.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go with Miami to get this win on the road. I think Miami's going to have their best game of the season, and I think they do have it. I think this is a high-scoring game. I'm going to go Miami 31, Baltimore 28. I do think Baltimore gets out to a 2-score lead in the first half, though, and Miami comes back and wins it.
Okay, so we're going to agree for a second game in a row. I am going Baltimore here. And like you said, they're coming off probably their best win of the season against the 49ers, where they dominated them. They really dominated Brock Purdy and the 49ers. But I'm taking the Ravens in this one, and I'm taking them 30-21. What they did to the 49ers last week is just proven that this Ravens team all season has been just really good. And there's been times where we look at the Ravens, and again, we look at the losses they have, and we're like, how the fuck do you lose to the Browns? How do you lose to the Steelers the way you lost, right? Those 2 losses, albeit the fucking Browns game was more of a win by the Browns than a loss by the Ravens. They got one more win, man. I mean, it's looking a little bit better. They're looking like they're definitely the number 1 seed for sure in the AFC, and they just look great. But what this offense has been able to do recently, and especially, like I said, against the 49ers, has been impressive. And yet, what's still even more impressive is how this defense is performing. This defense has been great all year, and I believe they're the number 1 defense in the NFL, although the Browns probably have a little something to say about that. But the Ravens defense is so dominant, man. To be able to do what they did to Brock Purdy, I think the Dolphins, with questions of their offense and how consistent they can be throughout the season, and those questions arising at different points through the season, especially against good teams, I think they're going to just be able to dominate Miami. I feel like Miami's going to be down big, maybe by 2 scores the entirety of the game, and really in the fourth quarter is when they get those garbage time touchdowns that get them close. You're going to look at the score and be like, wow, this was a close game. No, man, I think this is just going to be an absolute domination game by the Baltimore Ravens, and they want the number 1 seed in the AFC, so they're going to do everything they can to get it. Miami, no discredit to them and what they've been able to do on the offensive side of the ball. But I just don't think they have what it takes against this defense, and credit to what the Miami defense has been able to do. They've just improved since the beginning of the season. Remember, we talked about how their defense was one of like the worst in the league. They're scoring this many points, but their defense is also letting up this many points. They're bad in the rush defense. They're bad in the pass defense. They have been improving with Vic Fangio there as defensive coordinator. Again, I just don't think they have enough to beat this Baltimore Ravens team. So I'm going Ravens 30-21.
Okay, the reason Miami's going to win this game is
Wrong.
because well, let me tell my side. This is my
wrong,
side.
But you're wrong.
You stepped over the line. You stepped over the line.
Should I play it? Should I play it?
Over this line. Just step over that line.
Over any line.
Oh, you stepped over the line.
Step over the line.
You stepped over the line.
You stepped over the line. Let me tell you why the Dolphins are going to win this game. Because remember what we were just talking about the Lions getting their first division title?
Yeah.
This is a letdown for Baltimore. They're coming off of the highest high.
Mm-hmm.
And you could say, well, Miami's coming off of a high. Not really. I mean, that game went down to the wire. I think it's kind of a game where you're like, yeah, we got to win, but we still have work to do. The way the Ravens won is like, damn, no one's close to us. And that could be a potential letdown type of attitude going into this game. Now, I know they're well coached, so they're going to be ready. Another people are saying that, Tua, or I'll get to that, the weather whole thing, okay? People are talking about this weather thing. They're saying it's important. The Dolphins are 1-14 when the kickoff temperature is 45 degrees or below, including 0-4 with Mike McDaniel. But that's one of those stats that I don't care about that much because remember last year when Mike McDaniel wore that shirt that said, like, I'm not cold or something like that?
Yeah. Or I love the cold or something like that.
Yeah, it was something like that. Miami played back and forth with Buffalo when they were playing their best football in a blizzard in Buffalo last year. I don't care what the numbers say. Like you found a certain degree where, okay, these ones are all losses. These are stats that you're hunting for. Most of these players on your team have played in the NFL long enough to know how to play through snow, or they wouldn't made it to the NFL most likely. We're not talking about a whole roster of Peyton Mannings. I mean, yeah, they don't play in it as often. So yes, it can be a factor. But like I said, this is getting brought up and the weather's not even that cold. I'm looking at the weather. It's going to be a low of 34. I'm sorry, but these are NFL football players. They can absolutely play no problem in 34. That's not a problem at all. It's not even cold enough to snow. So I don't think that that's going to be a factor, but a lot of people are talking about that. But the key to winning this game is if they're going to be able to protect Tua on the offensive line, give him time. Tua Tagovailoa was under pressure 46.3% of his dropbacks against Tennessee, and he finished with a 39.4 passer rating in such plays. For the season, his passing grade when kept clean is 93.5. Very good passer rating in a clean pocket versus 54% when under pressure. If they can get to Tua and make him uncomfortable, Baltimore's going to win this game. If the offensive line can hold up their end of the bargain, give Tua enough time, Waddle, Tyreek, they're going to have their guys in this game. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if there's any reservation for Tyreek and Waddle, but assuming they have all their weapons and the offensive line, I'm telling you, if Baltimore wins, it's going to be because Tua was on his ass for way too much of this game. But if they protect that pocket, I think you're looking at a team that can go back and forth with the Ravens. And whose offense do I trust more in a shootout? Miami.
Like it. I like it. You're wrong, but I like it.
But you like it.
Oh, right. Waddle's out. Waddle is out.
Damn. Waddle is out. Well, Tyreek's going to have 300 yards then.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, those are the two most probably important games. It just happened to be the first one and the second one for us. But our next game is probably important as well. We got the New England Patriots taking on the Buffalo Bills. Now, it's not important for Buffalo, but it is important, or it's not important for the Patriots, but it's important for Buffalo. The Patriots just beat Denver. So if you feel like maybe the Patriots were no, they're going to continue to play really hard because they're coached really, really well. And that's something that I mentioned when I was talking about the Patriots last week. I think Buffalo has so much to play for right now. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but Belichick playing spoiler at home.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Patriots in Bailey Zappi to upset Buffalo and get a home win in an ugly 12-15 game.
Ooh. You're getting Bill Belichick to win 15-12 against the Bills?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. I mean, what they did last week was impressive. Again, unfortunately, it was against your Broncos. But what they did last week was impressive with Bailey Zappi. I think I just think really like whether it was Zappi, whether it was Mac Jones, but really more now it was Zappi. You start to play him more consistently. The receivers, the tight ends, the running backs, they know who they're getting the ball from. They know who the quarterback is. They know who the leader of the team on the offense is at that point. And when you bring that consistency, I feel like the team just kind of gets better, right? Like I feel like that's so simple, yet a lot of people just try not to do it, or they just don't do it because they think, oh, let's mix it up, right? I'm still going to take the Bills in this one. I think the Bills are playing really good football. And you know, they're one of those teams along with like the Browns in the AFC that you don't want to play in the playoffs because of how well they've been playing as of late. I am taking the Bills to win 27-13. Whether it's James Cook, whether it's Josh Allen, whether it's Gabe Davis, whether it's Stephon Diggs, there's an offensive weapon on this team that's going to have a huge day. And depending on who it is, that's who they're going to get the ball to, and that's how they're going to score that many points against the Patriots. Can Bill Belichick play spoiler? Absolutely, man. He's a very good coach.
It's his thing, though. It's not just like I'm saying he can do it. Like that's his thing. You know, like
I guess, but really, up until like 3 years ago, he was winning Super Bowls. You know what I mean? Like he was in the playoffs consistently. So to say it's his thing, I don't know if it's like necessarily like, oh, Bill Belichick's been doing it his entire career. No, he's been winning Super Bowls and playoff appearances his entire career.
It's been his thing. You know what I mean? It's been his thing.
It's been
Tom
his
Brady
thing
left like 5 years ago.
For yeah, exactly. Okay, for a good few years there. Then, I just don't think their defense, which is a good unit overall, the Patriots defense, I just don't think they can hold this offense. The Bills are again playing outstanding football offensively. They can rush the ball for 200 plus yards. They could throw the ball if Josh Allen needs to throw the ball. Joe Brady is the offensive coordinator in these last few weeks, has been outstanding for this team. And the reason really that they are where they're at in the playoff hunt, where they are, where they're at right now, just in general. I think going forward, like you have to sign on Joe Brady as your offensive coordinator if they continue on this upward trend on their offensive output, and especially if you go on a deep playoff run with the Bills and with Joe Brady there as offensive coordinator. Again, the Pats defensive unit, a good unit, a solid unit. I think they're rated pretty highly as far as top half of the NFL in a lot of categories. But as far as offensive output, they just, I don't know. They're not going to have it, man. They're going to put pressure on Zappi all day. I don't know if Ramondre Stevenson is out or if he's questionable or something. I know he got hurt a couple weeks ago, but he's their best weapon. He is their best weapon. And yeah, I just cannot see this offense for the Patriots doing what they did last week against the Broncos for a second straight week. I just can't see them do it. So I'm taking the Bills 27-13.
Well, Buffalo did lose to New England back in week 7, 29-25. And the Patriots have also won 2 of their last 3. So I'm standing firmly on my Patriots home upset. Merry Christmas to Massachusetts. Sorry, Buffalo. Maybe next year. I mean, it took a 3-game winning streak just to get him back into the AFC playoff picture. So I'm not really that high on Buffalo. I know they had that really impressive game against Dallas, but remember they ran for 260 yards and Josh Allen only threw the ball like 7 times that game. So their best win is to me a fluke type of victory. They don't run the football like that. Like, yes, they're becoming a better running football team, but I still think that with the way the AFC is, we've kind of crowned Buffalo a little early, and I think Patriots are going to remind us of that. But up next, Rick, we have your Chicago Bears playing the Atlanta Falcons. This game's going to be in Chicago. Montez Sweat has made a huge difference for this Bears defense. He's really turned him into a top 5 defense immediately since he arrived. The Bears have won 4 of their last 6, but they were really 2 or 3 plays away from being 6-0 during that same stretch. So Chicago, their defense is ascending. There's still some question marks with Justin Fields and Eberflus as a coach. Chicago's a pretty talented team, better defense than offense right now, but this game's in Atlanta. I'm torn. What do you think?
I mean, with the way the Bears have been playing on offense lately and how well the defense has been playing, I'm going with the Bears in this one. And with how many points they've put up, how well Cole Kmet's been playing, even though I believe he did not practice this week and might be questionable for this week in this game. You still got DJ Moore. You still got weapons there on offense. Justin Fields himself is a weapon. Deontay Foreman is coming back. You still got Khalil Herbert. Like, there's a lot of weapons that we have luckily on this offense now. It almost seems like a weird thing to say that we have offensive weapons on the Bears. And I'm taking the Bears, man. I'm taking the Bears to beat the Falcons. I think it's going to be a close game with how well the Falcons played last week with Heineke. You know, he gave him that spark, something Ritter has not been able to do. I think it's going to be a close game. I got the Bears winning 24-21. One of those touchdowns coming off of some turnovers too, for that defense, which has been solid in the turnover game. So I think it's going to be a close game, but I still got the Bears winning this one. Justin Fields probably throws for a couple scores, maybe rushes for one, depending on what the game plan calls for. Getsy. I feel like this is one of those games where the Bears are going to score again 21 points in the first half and only score 3 in the second half and still come away with the win. I've been saying that these last few weeks, and for some reason it's happening. But as a Bears fan, you kind of just grow accustomed to how they play throughout an entire football game. You really put this team up against the wall, and then you slowly just start to let go, slowly start to ease off the pressure, and they get close, and then you're winning by a field goal in this case for me. So I got the Bears winning, but the Falcons with Heineke, probably a slightly better unit than with Ritter. It really does depend. Like, is Bijan Robinson going to fumble the ball? How many targets are you giving to Kyle Pitts? How many targets are you giving to Drake London? Right? What is the offensive plan for the Falcons? And can the defense stop Fields? Can they hold him from running the ball if he needs to run it? Can they get turnovers in plus yardage? You know, it's going to be a lot of things that need to go right for the Falcons, in my opinion, for them to beat the Bears in this sense. And I think we've already kind of crowned the Bucs as winning the South. So I don't know if the Falcons got enough to do it. So I'm taking the Bears to win.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bears too. I think when you look at the two teams, the Bears are just going in the right direction right now. And I don't know if it's going to be enough to, change anybody's future. But Atlanta also wins this game, and all of a sudden they can win their division against Tampa, which I said that was going to be the ultimate game, week 18, that was going to let us know who gets in from the NFC South. But I don't think we had the Bears winning this game back then. And the Bears have actually, since late October, the Bears opposing teams have gone winless, 0-4, with a -6 turnover margin.
Wow.
So because this game's in Chicago, I'm taking the Bears, but I do want to note that if this game was in Atlanta, I would be taking the Falcons, just because of home field advantage. But
noted.
Well, you know, I mean, I
just fucking with you.
2 weeks ago, the Texans clipped the Titans 19-16 with Case Keenum under center. Houston's defense carried that effort. CJ Stroud is trending towards making his return this week, which we know that they need really, really bad. The Texans are not good without CJ Stroud. It turns out CJ Stroud is going to be a Hall of Famer. But Tennessee has a really vulnerable secondary that he may be able to exploit if he gets some stable pass protection. Houston has a lot of paths to victory if Stroud is going to be the person that plays. Don't have to think about this one too hard, although I do think it's still a close game. I've ran a million simulations in my head, and the Texans win all of them.
Yeah, this is kind of like it's not, I don't want to say it's an easy pick, right, for the Texans. But CJ Stroud is back, and whether or not, he cleared protocol, whether or not he comes back the exact same CJ Stroud that he was before this all year, which I think he will, it just doesn't seem like any of these games are going to go the Titans' ways. Will Levis coming back in this game? Did you say that? I can't remember if he was.
Will Levis is
can't remember if he's coming back. Yeah, because regardless, right? Like Will Levis is a nice little spark too. Like he's having good games and he's following them up with bad games, which is a rookie quarterback thing. It doesn't really matter unless you're CJ Stroud in this case. But whether it's him, whether it's Tannehill, what's that?
He'll be the quarterback. Will Levis was a full participant in his most recent practice and is likely available when Tennessee plays the Houston Texans at 1 p.m. Eastern time in Sunday, Week 17.
Yeah, so if it's going to be Will Levis, cool. He's going to be able to do a lot more than Tannehill was doing last week against the Seahawks, even though that was a close game, but that was what it was. But I think the Texans with CJ Stroud back, believe they are still missing a couple of their offensive guys. He's going to be able to get this offense back on track. We talked about it last week or our recap episode where the Texans just seem like a completely 180 different team without CJ Stroud there. The offense looks stalled, whether it's Davis Mills or whoever it was, back there, Case Keenum at quarterback. It's just tough for them to not have that offensive timing, that rhythm going without CJ Stroud back there. You've seen clips of him go up to his lineman, talk to him about this, really riling the team up, really just bringing that great energy and that great motivation and loving the Houston Texans and wanting Texans fans to be proud to wear a Texans hat, a jersey, a shirt, whatever it may be. So he just brings a different vibe, a different energy to that locker room, especially when he's a quarterback. And I think that's going to happen this week against the Titans. They're going to win this game, and I've got them winning right now 24-16. So I think that offense kind of gets back on track. I don't think he has one of these ridiculous games that he was having earlier in the season where we're like, this guy's throwing for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's ridiculous. No interceptions, whatever that was. I don't think he has a ridiculous game like that, but I think he has a very good, solid game, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, maybe an interception, something like that. I think he comes back and Texans fans can breathe a sigh of relief, even though the playoff hopes I don't think are going to be fulfilled this season.
Really? All right. No playoff hopes going to be fulfilled for any Atlanta fans.
Yeah, and the Titans are just broken, man. The Titans offense are just broken. You got Derrick Henry having just being on the struggle bus pretty much all season. He's had a couple good games.
I just said Falcon fan. I meant Titan fan.
Titan fans, yeah. He's just been struggling, and again with Tannehill, going from Tannehill to Levis to Malik. What was his name? Malik Willis. All that quarterback kind of mumbo jumbo, the jumble thing. It sucked for them. And while Vrabel is a very, very good coach, I just don't think he can really coach himself out of this season You know what I mean? Like they're already eliminated. They're going to try to play spoiler, but I just don't think they can coach their way into a win here.
Well, this is going to surprise you.
Oh my God.
Ladies and gentlemen, my game of the week. The Colts versus the Raiders. And it might not seem like a crazy game. Indianapolis is going to be at home in this one. But I think you could argue that this matchup is between the two most overachieving franchises this season. Aiden O'Connell, the fact that they fired their head coach in the middle of the season, and the Raiders have been feisty with Antonio Pierce since week 9, and all of the fact that they've been able to remain really, really competitive in games, even against Miami and stuff like that. And the Colts losing Anthony Richardson early in the season, they've won 5 of their last 7. Recently, they got blown out by the Falcons. We all know that. We saw that together. But and they also lost bad to Jake Browning's Bengals after they had a lead in that game. But the Raiders defense under Pierce is right at the top of the list right now for defenses. I think the Raiders are going to play a good defensive game, but I think really this is going to be more about the offense. I think this is going to be the game of the week because I got this game over 75 points scored in this game.
Oh, shit.
I think that this is going to be a Red Rider shootout. And I'm also going to say don't touch it.
Game of the week, don't touch it, over 75, and you got the Colts winning. You got the Raiders winning?
No, don't touch it. I'm not touching it. I'm not picking.
You're not picking. Okay. All right.
This is my one.
Everybody gets one.
And the Colts are 3-point favorites right now, and the total points is set at 43.5. But yeah.
And understandably so, man. I mean, look how the Raiders beat the Chiefs last week with Aiden O'Connell, the quarterback, not completing a pass after the first quarter, and all defensive touchdowns after that, and really just dominating on the defense against the Chiefs, which Bill brings up. Max Crosby on Minshew is going to be a thing. It is going to be a consistent thing. Max Crosby is going to try his best to get to Gardner Minshew. And last week, when the Colts did lose, the offensive line was a huge reason that they lost that bad to the Falcons. The Falcons were getting to Gardner Minshew a lot. So Max Crosby being really a premier defensive end in the NFL, he's going to get to Gardner Minshew. And the offensive line, they can prepare. Like, they've got to prepare really well. They've got to get their matchups, done correctly in this game if they want to have a chance against Max Crosby in this defense. But even so, you double team Max Crosby and you get your attention on him, somebody else from the Raiders is going to come in and get a sack. So I don't see this going the Colts' way. The Colts may be out of a playoff spot here too, as well with this game. I got the Raiders winning this one, and it's going to be a close one. I got them going, taking the dub 20-17. So it's going to be by 3 points. I don't think the Raiders offensively do the same thing they did last week. I'm positive in saying this. O'Connell will have a completion after the first quarter, and if he doesn't, I will quit the Only Football Podcast. But not really.
Don't
don't do that. That could actually happen.
Chill.
No, but I gotta say that just for funsies.
Yeah. Of course
for the funsies. But this offense, I think for the Raiders is going to be much, much better than last week. The Colts defense isn't really that great. I think they can be not exposed, but the Raiders offense, their scheme, what they can do with, Josh Jacobs and, Devontae Adams and Mayer and Aiden O'Connell. I think they can get into some spots where Aiden O'Connell is having like a 200+ yard type of game, and he throws for a couple scores in this one too. So again, the Colts defense isn't this amazing unit. I'm pretty sure they're pretty bottom tier of the NFL in a lot of categories. So that's why I got the Raiders winning this one, and the Colts playoffs hope. Sorry, Jinja, but they go bye-bye in this game.
Circling the drain. All right, the Carolina Panthers are taking on the Jaguars. This is the battle of the cats right here. Panthers,
Wow.
Jaguars. This is an important game for the Jaguars. The Jags have been a streaky team all season. They won 5 games in a row at one point, but they've lost 4 consecutive games right now. Carolina showed more passing game pop with Young last week than we've seen all season, really. But if Lawrence grinds through another injury that he's dealing with right now, he'll be the better QB playing on Sunday. For that reason, this is a get-right game. I'm taking the Jags over the Panthers.
Jags over the Panthers. Yeah, same for me, man. 28-17, I've got the score. Regardless of how well the Panthers played last week, they were playing against a very shitty defense in the Packers. And, Bryce Young looked great. And it gave the Panthers fans glimpses of like, God, I hope this Bryce Young continues to be, the guy there in Carolina so they could get something for giving up DJ Moore, the number 1 overall pick in next year's draft. They're looking at that week and being like, this is the Bryce Young we want. This is the Bryce Young we drafted. This is the Bryce Young we were hoping for. So I think he's going to play well against the Jaguars because the Jaguars defense as of late has not been great. And the Jaguars team in general has not been great. But I think Trevor Lawrence and this Jaguars team, for the most part, is a get right game, even though like it's going to be pretty close, in my opinion. The Panthers defense does have some studs on it. Burns, for example, is one of the guys on there. They can get turnovers. They can get to the quarterback. And the way Trevor Lawrence has been playing, they could expose that. They could get a couple of interceptions. And Trevor Lawrence, for the most part, has been prone to turnovers in terms of fumbles and interceptions. Like whatever way you want to draw it up, he's prone to it. So he might get a turnover here, might throw an interception, and the Panthers might get some points off of that as well. But again, I'm going with Jaguars. This is one of those like earlier in the season where we're kind of like, let's not overcomplicate this. This is probably going to be a win against the worst team in the NFL. So that's why I'm giving it to the Jaguars, 28-17.
Yeah, and I still do feel like the Panthers can win this game. Because what we've seen from Trevor Lawrence hasn't been good, and what we've seen from the Panthers has been. They played the Packers really tough, and then the week before that, I believe they won against Atlanta. So, like, there's totally an argument on the Panthers side. I understand no one's going to take the Panthers, but if they were to win this game, we would understand why. 2 teams are trending in the total opposite directions. And if Jaguars don't turn it around, it's just going to be more of the same.
Yeah. And they go 9, the Jags win, they go 9-7. We already have the Houston Texans winning. They also go 9-7. But I think Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars, I believe they have the tiebreaker, if I'm not mistaken. Their division record is going to be better. They have the tiebreaker that way. And like I said,
I think they split. So it would be who has the better division record.
Yeah, and the Jags have 4-1 versus the Houston Texans 2-2 because they're playing well. If they beat the Titans, they're going to be 3-2 regardless. What the wins losses are in the division, I think that the Texans, with how stacked the AFC is, I just, like I said, think the Jaguars take the crown in the division, and the Texans unfortunately do not go to the playoffs. But looking good for the Jaguars if they can get the stub. They really need it.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, our next game is the Los Angeles Rams going to MetLife to take on Bills New York Giants. And the Giants, I thought, had a pretty good game against the Eagles. I thought they held their own as much as they could with Tommy DeVito, and then he got benched, and then in came
Tyrod
Taylor, exactly. But the Rams offense right now is rolling, like running the football with Kyron Williams or Kyron Williams. Kyron or Kyron? Kyron, both. Kyron Williams.
Roll both accounts.
Yeah, I guess I was right there in the middle. Stafford's passing the ball. The Rams look like they have some of the best weapons in the NFC right now. The Giants have zero answers defensively for both of those problems. The Rams are going to be okay in giving up some big pass plays again, but Donald and the defense are probably going to shut the door in the second half. I think the Rams are going to win this game, and I think they're also going to score 37 points in MetLife. I'm sorry, Bill.
Yeah, Bill, please cover your ears because I've got them scoring 31 in this game, in MetLife, in New York, in New Jersey, whatever. And I've got the Giants only scoring 17. Regardless, I think whether I believe, and Bill, please correct me if I'm wrong, Tommy DeVito isn't even on the roster for the team, right? Like, is he on the practice squad or something? Like, I may have heard.
Meanwhile, his agent's increasing his pizza
Yeah.
appearance fee to $50,000. 1 week later, the dude's not even in the NFL.
It's insane. I'm gonna up this guy's appearance fee, by the way. But yeah, I just whether it's Tyrod Taylor, whether it's Tommy Tuds, Tommy Cutlets, Tommy DeVito, the Giants, like you said, have no answers defensively or offensively for really anyone. They had a couple good games again with Tommy DeVito there, Tommy Tuds. And they were looking promising. At least they were looking like, hey, spirits are a little higher now because of this team and because of this guy, right? So, but as far as the Rams and how well they've been playing, again, we talk about Matthew Stafford and how well he's been playing. He's playing like a Super Bowl self. I'll say it again and again and again because it's true. He has just been playing outstanding, lights out. He said DeVito is still around. I'm telling you, the second waivers, someone would claim him. He won 3 games. Yeah, so you did say that. Yeah, I remember that. But it's just this defense and this offense for the Rams is just outstanding. You got Puka Nacua, you got Kyren Williams, like you mentioned, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford. Like, they have got some big name players on this offense. And, this is a quarterback-driven league, but Puka Nacua, I feel like, is probably up there for MVP of the Rams for what he did this season, for kind of that spark earlier in the season. You wanted to watch Rams games because of him, right? And because of that, I felt like it just sparked something in the Rams to let's get better. Let's get better towards Sean McVay. Even though Sean McVay is a great coach, Matthew Stafford's a good quarterback, and Aaron Donald there on the defense is unstoppable. I think Puka Nacua is up there for MVP of the team, and they're just going to roll over the Giants, man. Bill, I'm sorry again, but they're just going to roll over the Giants. The Giants quarterbacks always seem under pressure, always seem like they got to roll out, even though it's like they're under center or in the shotgun. It always seems like they're just like not in sync with what's going on the offense. Tyrod Taylor's running for his life. Tommy DeVito's running for his life. This offensive line for the Giants is tough to watch. So Rams are going to roll all over the Giants, and the Rams they're in very good shape to get a good wild card spot there in the NFC.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And Bill mentions, no, he's not available on waivers. And if he was available on waivers, he would be picked up immediately.
Absolutely.
Because of what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
And I could definitely see that. But I could also see, like, at this point in the season, everybody that's in a playoff position has their quarterback. Like, if nobody got hurt, but he would be a backup for sure. I think he would get picked up right away.
I mean, he was the third string emergency quarterback when they brought him in. So, yeah.
All right. Our next game is going to be awesome. Cardinals at Eagles. I actually am not being sarcastic. I like a couple things about this matchup specifically that I noted here. The first thing I'll say is that the Cardinals are playing pretty good with Kyler Murray. Unfortunately, though, Gannon's defense is playing worse than what he left behind in Philly. And another cool little thing about this game is that Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray both went to Oklahoma. So Sooner pride on the line a little bit. But I just with the Cardinals defense, man, the way that they've been playing, I think that they're going to be able to do whatever they want with AJ Brown and
Devontae Smith.
Thank you, Devontae Smith. So I'm going to say that the Eagles extend their playoff position.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to take the Eagles to win only by 2 scores, 30-20. I think the Bears just played the Cardinals last week and they can put up some points, right? Like if they get an opportunity, they come out in that second half, right? And they get that first drive after, getting the third quarter kickoff. It was looking a little scary there, but also they played the Bears, which again, it's not the Eagles offense by any means. The Eagles know, maybe not this year, really know kind of when to put the foot on the throat and to really like start, going downfield to AJ Brown, to Devontae Smith, getting DeAndre Swift more involved, getting Bart Scott more involved, Jalen Hurts in the tush push. Like they know that they're able to do that a little bit more convincingly than whatever the Bears did last week against the Cardinals. But the Cardinals, I think, are going to put up a good fight. And Gannon there, the head coach, like you said, he is the former offensive coordinator for the Eagles. So he kind of knows them a lot better than anyone else who's played the Eagles. So like you said, you're not kidding about this being a good game. It could absolutely be a good game, because he knows that information. He knows what kind of scheme the Eagles are running, and he knows what Jalen Hurts can and cannot do.
He wants this one.
Yeah, he does. He wants this one.
So does Kyler Murray.
Mm-hmm. But and you know what? I think Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts going to want this a little bit more, and I think they're going to want it more because they won last week. The Cowboys lost. They are in prime position to get this NFC East title if they just continue winning. And I think that's what they do against the Cardinals. So this defense for the Eagles has not looked great since the Super Bowl. It really hasn't. They've been dominant at times. You look at the Miami game, for example, when Miami was one of the top offenses in the league, which they continue to be. But like at that point, they were like number one with all the yards, all the points, this and that. But just as of recently, man, it's like one of those, like, this defense does not look good. They need this game to look really good to go into the playoffs and to win the division, look convincing going into the playoffs and trying to make another deep playoff run like they did last year.
Yeah, and I think it's safe to expect a heavy dose of DeAndre Swift and Kenneth Gainwell because Arizona has the 32nd ranked run defense in the NFL, and that's going to definitely open up the pass game, which then they can force feed the ball to AJ Brown since he's been struggling with not getting targets and catches. So when you consider, like, not only will they win, but they'll run the ball well and fix their AJ Brown problem, this is literally the definition of a get right game.
Bears ran all over them last week too.
Yeah, they'll check all of those boxes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This is going to be a very important NFC South showdown. The Saints are going to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers at 1 p.m. on Fox in Tampa at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay, Florida. The Bucs are 2.5-point favorites, 42.5 total points. I'm going to say right now, I do not trust the Saints. They are a mystery team every single week. You just don't know what you're going to get. The Bucs have been doing really well with Baker Mayfield. He's quietly been super efficient. When Carr doesn't have a solid running game, he's shown that he can't just throw the ball 40 times and win the game. And the Bucs offense as a whole is really doing well with Baker and White. So I think Tampa can repeat as division title winners this year because they're getting the best quarterback play out of Baker Mayfield than anybody else in the NFC South. But the Saints, they are going to want this one because it's all on the line. So they're going to come in and give them their best shot. But this game's in Tampa, and Baker Mayfield is actually the Oklahoma quarterback we're going to be talking about. Not Jalen Hurts, not Kyler Murray. It's Baker Mayfield who has resurged his career, and he will check the box, winning not just a playoff appearance, all of that. Yeah, awesome. Baker Mayfield is the long-term answer at quarterback for the Tampa Bay Bucs. And that's what's on the line tonight or on Sunday.
He's only 28 years old. He's only 28 years old,
He could be there for 12 more years. We'll be in our 40s and Baker could be there if this works out.
If he continues, you're right. If he continues on the trajectory he's on this year, which again is something that, I'll raise my hand up. I was wrong about this season. I thought like Baker, like again, I was kind of writing off Baker. I was like, this is just one of his other stops. I don't know if he's going to be the long-term answer. He's been really good and a big reason why Mike Evans has 1,000 yards, why he has 12, 13 touchdowns this season, right? So
you were making fun of Baker
all the time.
You were being mean? You were being mean?
You're being mean, 100% being mean to Baker. But again, we talked about why he has a special place in my heart and always will. But I've also got the Bucks winning this one. This one is going to be close though. Like you said, the Saints are going to want it just as much as the Bucks, but I've got the Bucks winning 24-21 in this one. They're division opponents. They know each other the best. They are both going to go for the win. If the Saints win, they're tied with the Bucks at the top of the division. And not only that, as well as division record. They'll both be 3-2. The Falcons will also be 3-2, but if the Bears beat them, they'll be 7-9. So the record off the rip will not be the same, whereas the Saints and the Bucks will have the week 18 matchups, whatever that may be, to possibly determine that. But I think the Buccaneers take it against the Saints. It's going to be one of the most important games, and it's my game of the week. It's Rick's game of the week. Saints and Buccaneers going to basically determine the NFC South if the Bucks can win, and if not, then week 18 is going to be just another huge game for both of these teams to see what happens. But I'm taking the Bucks and Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans and that offense, Rashad White, all those guys. I'm taking all of them to win this game, but again, it's going to be close. Derek Carr might will his team there late to a touchdown drive that gets them within 3. But I think, once Baker and the Bucks get the ball back, they're going to run the clock out. They're going to get enough first downs, make sure that the Saints call their timeouts, and they're going to get the dub there in the fourth quarter at the end of the game. Very close game, very important game for both of these teams. My game of the week and the Bucks and Baker. Baker
Rick's
Bucks.
Game of the week.
Baker Bucks.
Rick's
all
game
in.
of the week. Let's go, Rick's game of the week.
Let's go.
Let's go.
They'll stop. Stop.
All right, I'll stop. The 49ers are needing this one, man. They got beat bad by Baltimore, and now they're going on the road to take on the Commanders, and the Commanders are a 4-win football team. By the way, I think they might be the best 4-win football team out there. It seems
Commanders?
like it seems like they're always given a run for their money, everyone a run for their money, but yet they're 4-11. And the Niners are going to go from facing a crazy hard pass rush and really good coverage defense in Baltimore to facing the complete opposite of that in the Commanders defense. So losing Trent Williams is a really big loss with pass protection and blocking, but whether it's Purdy or Sam Darnold, I think that it's a get right game for San Francisco. I think they come away with a big win here.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the same thing. I've got the 49ers winning 33-17 in this game. Jacoby Brissett is going to be the quarterback. Sam Howell has been benched. Again, we talked about what that means going forward. We both agree. I believe that we both agreed that Sam Howell should continue to get the nod next season. Coaching staff's going to be gone. It's the new ownership has taken over, and Sam Howell's proven that he can get yards. He can get the offense going. His offensive line just needs to be better, man. But Jacoby Brissett also has proven that his offensive line is not necessarily always the problem, because he has been able to get those touchdown drives when he comes in for Sam Howell in these last couple games. I like Jacoby Brissett. I like his career, man. Like, it's not something that you hope for as a quarterback in the league, right? Like, you go from the Patriots to the Browns to now the Commanders. You jump around the league and such. It's an awesome story, because I do like Jacoby Brissett, and he's very good for these like spot starts or for coming in as a second stringer and whatnot. But I just don't think that this offense has anywhere near enough against this 49ers defense. And like you said, this 49ers team is coming off a terrible loss against the Ravens, something that hasn't happened in a while, really, right? Like, their 3-game losing streak, it wasn't like they were getting blown out like the Ravens, did them last week, but they just lost 3 in a row. So this one was kind of like, just a punch to the jaw, like, hey man, you guys aren't as great as you think you are. That's what the Ravens told them last week, right? So they're going to want this get right game. And like I said, 33 points, whether it's Sam Darnold or Brock Purdy, although I do hope it is Brock Purdy, this offense is going to get going against his Commanders' depleted defense. So 49ers win big, 33-17.
Can't agree more.
Fitting, right? Fitting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank God. I was worried you were going to hate me. All
You
right.
suck, Kyle.
Oh, no.
No, what happened?
Now,
Also, real
yes,
quick, that's a lot of games for the early slate. Did you see how many games? I mean, it's
that's a ton.
week 17, and it's a fuck ton of games. But
So many. It's
yeah,
weird this time of
yeah,
year because I know when you look at the schedule, like I think week 18, everything says TBD.
it does. Yeah, it does.
All right, so this is going to be another huge game this weekend. You got Steelers and Seahawks. Both teams 8-7, both playing for the playoffs. Some people are taking the Steelers, and the thinking is that Seattle has been inconsistent. The playoff picture, really a lot riding on this game, even though they're two teams in different conferences. Mike Tomlin's one win away from locking up a 17th straight non-losing season. A streak that remains notable no matter how many times it's shoved down your throats. And I think that they're gonna want this one. But however, I'm gonna go with the Seahawks here. The Steelers are gonna stick with Rudolph in their playoff push, but his aggressive passing is not necessarily going to. I think it's gonna play into Seattle's strength with Witherspoon, and their passing defense is pretty good over there. So I think there's going to be enough opportunities for Rudolph to make some mistakes, throw a couple interceptions, and I think Geno Smith can find some good holes in the Steelers secondary. I think he can tear him up a little bit.
Ooh.
And I think DK Metcalf has a big game, all of that. I just it's a tough one. It is.
Yeah.
But this game's in Seattle, so the 12th man's a real thing. I'll take Seahawks.
12,
I'm taking the 12s.
baby. Taking the 12s, and we're not talking about the police. It is the 12 in Seattle.
You thinking of the 5-0?
They also called 12, Kyle.
Oh,
shit. I'm from Chicago, dude. You gotta trust me on this stuff, all right? You gotta trust me.
We call cops pigs where I'm from.
Oink, 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 oink. I'm also going with the Seahawks. It's in Seattle, like you said. I've got this being a very close game. I've got this going 24-23 in Seattle's favor. Whether or not that is a third week in a row where Seattle goes down the field and scores a game-winning touchdown, or Pittsburgh gets close with the 23 points, still got some time left on the clock. They go for an onside, something like that. It's gonna be a nail-biting game. And Liam, I'm sorry, but I'm going Seahawks. Mason Rudolph had a great game. His first time appearing in a game in over 2 years, we talked about. He had a great game. George Pickens had a great game. And they still have Deontay Johnson. They still have Jalen Warren and Najee Harris. Najee Harris scored a touchdown. Like this Pittsburgh offense, when they get going, it gets going.
It does.
And it really does. And Mason Rudolph brought that out of them last week. Can he do it 2 weeks in a row, though? I don't think he can. And like you said, Seahawks defense on the other side will get turnovers against Mason Rudolph. They absolutely will get turnovers. Talked about Witherspoon and the impact he's made on the Seahawks defense. It's what really is going to be, in my eyes, the X factor here for Mason Rudolph is how well his offensive line could protect against the rush from Seattle's front line there, because they were able to get to Tannehill 6 times last week. That's going to be super important. Do you put him under pressure? Does he make errant throws that gets a Witherspoon or the rest of your defense? Those picks, those turnovers, those fumbles, that's going to be huge for Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph's a big guy. He could take some hits and he could probably escape a couple. But you can only do that for so long before you're going to throw a bad throw. You're going to get a bunch of incompletions on an important third down. You're going to throw a pick, something like that, right? On the other side for the Seahawks offense, they got a ton of weapons. You mentioned DK, Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba has been huge these last couple games for Seattle. And I think that's going to continue, man. I think they're going to continue to, get that offensive output from their star players. And whether it's Geno Smith and honestly Drew Lock, whether it's one of these guys in the game, I think Seattle is going to make a really strong case to why they belong in the playoffs. And they are in the playoffs right now as a 7 seed. I think that's going to continue, man. I think Seattle's going to get the the one of the wild card spots, and Steelers, unfortunately, are probably going to not be in the playoff picture at all. I'm taking the Seahawks to win in Seattle 24-23. I also just love Pete Carroll. I fucking love Pete Carroll, man. It's hard to hate Pete Carroll. You know what I mean? That fucking 89-year-old motherfucker running up and down the sideline, chewing gum at a ridiculous pace as fast as DK runs. Like, it's
That's
just
what I'm going to look like watching Bronco games when I'm 110. Just
what the fuck are you talking about?
I think it keeps us young. When you care as much as Pete Carroll about football,
Yes.
that keeps you young. How many times do you see these coaches quit coaching and they die like 3 months later?
Yeah,
it's literally related. It's like relatable to when June Carter died, and then Johnny Cash died right after.
Yeah, like months after, like
losing,
not even that long.
It's loss, man.
You lose a part of yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So I agree. I love Pete and all that, but go Hawks. All right, Rick, I'm really, really pumped to talk about this game. And
go off, Queen.
It's not sarcasm. And I hope you guys who are tuning in, if you're a Broncos fan, I hope you enjoy this, because I realize that there's a lot happening right now in around the Denver Broncos organization, and it's been a roller coaster because we had a terrible start to the season, but then we go on that 6-game winning streak, and we're talking about this team maybe, being one of the teams that can make it all the way out of the AFC. And now all of a sudden our quarterback's benched. And I think what it really just comes down to is Sean was looking at the film and he was like, the plays are downfield to be made, but we're not making them. And we need to be able to trade you. Like, Sean Payton had made a decision that he's moving off of Russell Wilson. And I do not believe if Sean Payton took this job and he said the three most important things, the GM, the ownership, the GM, and the quarterback. He said those were the three things. So I don't think he would have took this job if he didn't fully intend on making Russell Wilson work. And I don't think he would have gave him the nod if he thought Russell Wilson was going to work. But what you do have to do, if you don't have total faith in Russell Wilson, is you have to have a plan B. And plan B was always Jared Stidham from the very beginning. Jared Stidham was signed immediately by the Broncos, and they gave him $10 million, which is pretty good money for a backup. Yeah. And it was almost like Sean Payton knew exactly what he wanted, and he got him. Okay, now Stidham had a couple games last year that we saw, and he looked good. Now, this is what's interesting. The Broncos started Stidham on August 26th in an entire football game. And Denver won that game 41-0. And Stidham looked really good in this game, including a 50-yard pass on the first play that he came in. Yeah. So Stidham, I think what we maybe not realize is that we're getting a preview at potentially the person that's going to save us from our problems. And although what happened to Russ is really sad, we have to embrace Jared Stidham, put our arms around him as a fan base, because he might be the person that is going to make sure that we're in the playoffs next season. Like, he might be that guy. And Sean Payton has seen enough to say that I can honestly say that Russell Wilson does not give us our best chance of winning football games. It's not that he's a scapegoat. It's that if you watch the games, like, we've all been seeing it. Like, yes, it's weird because Brandon Perna said it perfect. He was like, watching Russell Wilson play is like taking a hit of crystal meth, because he runs around and he makes this miraculous throw, but then you're like withdrawing for like 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden, and you're just waiting for that hit again to get you through. And I think he said it so well. It's like Russ was almost like a dysfunctional relationship where like they're doing just enough to keep you there, but you're like miserable the whole time. I don't want to say that like we're not thankful for Russ, and I don't even know if I would have benched him, but I'm not Sean Payton, and I do believe that Sean Payton's going to put us in the best chance to win that we can, because he even said my job's not safe if we don't win. So, he's like, it's not about Russ being the scapegoat. It's about winning. And I think if Sean Payton saw something that says, hey, Jared Stidham's the guy that gives us our best shot, then I'm anxious to see what it looks like. I am, because one way or another, if Jared Stidham throws 3 picks and has a terrible day and Denver loses, Sean's an idiot. But if he goes out there and he goes through reads and he throws to the middle of the field and he hits wide open Jerry Jeudy, all of a sudden, because remember, we're out $33 million from Russell Wilson. So he would be our quarterback next year. Like, we don't have anybody else. Like, we would either have to draft one or have a guy like Stidham do a team-friendly contract, because we paid Russ so much money. So this is a chance to see if we're going to be saved or not on Sunday from this contract. And I hope it works out. I'm going to be holding my Jared Stidham autographed towel the whole game. And depending on how he does, I may order a Stidham jersey.
Oh shit, I love it. Bill had a great comment here talking about a clip making around on X about Russ. Bill, if you could send that to us, that would be lovely on X. And obviously we got our ads up there on X.
I'm gonna cry.
I know, and it sucks because I loved the story of Russ coming out of Wisconsin, going to Seattle. Oh, this guy's too small. He's not going to make it in the NFL. He's a baseball player. He should have gone to play baseball. Wins a Super Bowl, right? Like, he wins a Super Bowl, and he was very good that season. The offense was good, and the defense was legendary for Seattle. And he won a Super Bowl. Could he have won a second one? The year following, or whenever it was that happened with the Patriots? Yeah, possibly. They were there. They were in another Super Bowl. They were there. And again, I love his story, and I we make fun of him and how cringe he was last season and how cringe he has been, Mr. Unlimited. It's cringy, man. It is, but he is such a positive dude. He is such a good role model to have. I think if you're, a kid playing football, he is a good person overall. And it sucks to see him in the situation at 35 years old, right? It sucks to see that he's being benched for Jared Stidham. It sucks to see that reports are coming out that he's known he's going to be cut, or that they're going to try to cut him and try to save money on his contract, which was a huge, huge contract, by the way. And it sucks to see that, so I feel bad for the Broncos and Russ, mostly because, again, I've grown to really like the Broncos because you and I have been doing this podcast. So I've grown to really like Russ and, what he's done in his career. And, as far as this game goes, I am taking the Broncos to win. I'm taking them to win 20-17. It's going to be a close game because it is Stidham now at quarterback, right? I'm just going to get that off because Stidham, again,
it's going to be a blowout.
It's going to be a blowout. 20-17 for the Broncos.
Are going to score 37 points.
20-17, Kyle, is a blowout for the Broncos at this point. But I got them beating the Chargers. Look at guys like, you fucking piece of shit. It's just, I haven't seen enough of Stidham. I mean, clearly you're the Broncos fan. You saw him in the preseason. You talked about it, right?
I'm stoked about it.
Yeah, and you are stoked about it.
I'm sad too.
When
it's
it's a sad
both.
thing. Absolutely, both things can be true when you see Stidham out there, and the 100%. What is going to happen is they're going to show Russ there on the sidelines with the earpiece in, ready to go in if called upon, suited up. You know what I mean?
What
like,
if he's not even on the field?
Or if he's not even on the field, that would suck too.
He's not going to be out there because Denver moved him because they don't want him
to get hurt.
No, because they don't want him to get hurt. So
yeah,
they would put a third string in before he goes back in. And I mean, at some point, it's like, dude, it's like you're banging this dude's wife in front of him. Like, I highly doubt they're going to ask him to go in. That's a little bit like, okay, he's still a human being. Like, give him some dignity.
Yeah.
Don't be, all right, Russ, go into the game as our, and that's something interesting because Russ is like, he was fine being a role player, but then he wanted to let Russ cook. And then he started talking about wanting to be a league MVP. And it's like, as soon as he wanted these other things, it was like Seattle was like, okay, like, go chase that dream. And it's like, it's really looking like, wow, like maybe he should have just stayed a role player and accepted his role. And, it was like as soon as he married Sarah and like paparazzi, and I feel like he became so big that he started playing.
Team.
Yeah, like a whole team and stuff. And it's a little unnecessary because it's like that stuff only works if you're winning. If you're not winning, it's like, dude, fire all these people, find new friends, change your habits, do something. But at the end of the day, like he might just be doing everything he can and he just doesn't have it in him right now. And it's kind of sad. But
he just had a baby too. Like there's a lot on his plate, man. And like we said, it's sad. And it's going to be just kind of like a somber feeling if what they're saying is going to happen happens.
Yeah, and what I was going to say was he's going to need to really like humble himself, because there might be teams that are interested in like making him compete. And I just don't see Russ being like a backup quarterback. I don't think he would do that.
It'd be tough to see that.
Yeah, so this might be a really rocky road for him, but maybe the Commanders or somebody like that will take him. But yeah, man, I'm excited to see what Stidham can do, because Russ was not Sean Payton's selection. Jared Stidham was. Jared Stidham was Sean Payton's first move as the Broncos head coach. Like he was like, yes, I can do this job, but I need Stidham as my plan B. And now plan B has begun, which ultimately Sean Payton is now fully responsible for. The Russell Wilson experience, he can pass the blame to somebody else, distribute it to George Payton, the people that made that contract. But this one is all on Sean.
Yeah.
And we're going to find out if he's right or if he's wrong.
100%. And as far as the Chargers, they put up a very good game against the Bills last week. Obviously, they came in with a loss, and this is the first week without Staley at head coach. I have a close game, a 3-point game here with the Broncos winning. I think the Chargers are going to do the same thing. I think they're going to put up a good fight. I just don't think they have it in them to win. And whether it's Herbert, their quarterback, or Easton Stick, regardless, it's going to be a tough time for them to really get anything going with what's going on in that organization. But they're going to look tough for a second loss in a row without Staley. So,
yep. All right. Well, they can still win the AFC West if they win their final 2 games, but the Chiefs would need to lose their the Chiefs would need to lose their final 2. Okay. So that's what makes this game important for Broncos fans. And that is the Cincinnati Bengals getting on the road after what happened last week, that surprising blowout from the Steelers, looking to try to bounce back and get right. But the Chiefs are also doing that. They took a bad loss to the Raiders, and it seems like they're just not able to figure it out. And we said that, like, at this point in the season, there's no switch that's going to happen. And this is just who the Chiefs are. And Kansas City suffering that huge letdown, even though they had a dominant pass defense at home against the Raiders. They're back at home.
Dominant is an understatement in this case.
Yeah, it was insane. It was insane. And now they're playing a much weaker defense that struggles the most against covering tight ends. I think Travis Kelce's going to have a big game. Browning is going to have a much tougher challenge this week than he had last week. All of that points to the Chiefs getting the nod in this one. But when it rains, it pours. And the Bengals are going to win, and the Chiefs are going to lose their final 2. We're going to win our final 2. We're going to go into the playoffs with Jared Stidham.
Shut the front door, Kyle.
That's why Sean made this move.
Because he knew Kansas City was going to lose?
Well, he knew that if we made it to the playoffs, we needed Jared Stidham, not Russell Wilson.
Kyle, I love you. You know that, right? You know I love you, dude. You know you're my boy. You know, you're not only my co-host, but you're my friend. God damn it. And I love you.
But I'm an idiot?
I was never going to go there.
Okay.
What I was going to say was I've got the Chiefs winning this one. I've got the Chiefs winning this one 24-17, unfortunately, for your plan where you were open for, Kyle, and I'm sorry, but the Bengals right now, they also look to be struggling. Jake Browning for those 3 weeks, right, looked damn good, and we were just kind of, after that third win in a row, we're like, holy shit, this Jake Browning guy, JB, Joe Burrow, Jake Browning, JB, this guy could take them, right? Like this guy could be the guy. No, that's not. That's fucking Bill. We're going to the playoffs instead of what did I just warn you about, Kyle? Oh, love it, Bill. But it's coming down to earth a little bit right now for Jake Browning and the Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs. You said there's no switch to be flipped. If they get to the playoffs, man, that could very well be the switch that gets flipped. In playoff mode, man, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, they've been there for their entire time together, pretty much, right? Things have gone horribly for the Chiefs, like you said. You got Patrick Mahomes not being able to get, passes off, receivers dropping passers. You got fucking Isaiah Pacheco jumping on a medical table, and that medical table literally crumbling and having him fall on the ground on the sideline. There's just everything going wrong right now for the Chiefs, but I still think they're going to come out with a win here against Cincinnati. What they were not able to do against the Raiders, I don't think will happen again against Cincinnati. That was just, man, that was like the lowest of low I think we've seen the Chiefs be at. You could talk about losing in the AFC Championship to the Bengals and, playoff losses in general, Super Bowl losses. But that last week against the Raiders was, I think, rock bottom. And I think there's only one way to go from rock bottom. And yes, there's a second rock bottom, but I think this case, they're going up. And I think they're going to be able to beat the Bengals in this one. And, Cincinnati, Jake Brown, they got a bunch of weapons there. T. Higgins, again, is kind of reemerged as a number 2. Right there, below Jamar Chase, and a very good number 2, a number 1 on most other teams, in the league. So he's very, very talented. The run game with Mixon has kind of struggled a bit too, as of lately, and that might be a factor in this as well. Because if you can't get the running game going, man, the defense it's easy, right? In a sense, right, against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, it might not be easy, but it's a little easier when the run game isn't going. So I got Kansas City winning this by a touchdown, 24-17. And sorry, Kyle, I'm sorry.
You know what? It's all right. But the Kansas City Chiefs would clinch the AFC with a win, and it is not like it's going to come easy this year for anybody in the AFC West, but it will be Jared Stidham in the end. All right, next up, we got the Green Bay Packers going on the road to Minnesota. A lot of people are taking the Vikings. The Vikings are a 2-point favorite to win this game, but I'm actually going the other way with this. I'm going to go with the Sunday night upset pick. Love's feeling better with his young weapons. He's showing improvement each week, and the running backs are really stepping up. Aaron Jones had a great week last week. The Vikings pass game was more aggressive with Nick Mullins, which we talked about. We said, wow, that was surprising, right? Yeah. But Minnesota's missing a key target in TJ Hawkinson. And I believe also Jordan Addison is banged up. Green Bay, I think they keep their slim playoff hopes alive with getting a meaningful win on the road in Minnesota on Sunday night.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, and that goes to picking the Packers as well. I've got the Packers winning this by 3 points, 27-24 in Minnesota. All the things you said about Jordan Love and his weapons, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, the running backs are doing well. Like Jordan Love, man, it pains me to say this, and we talked about this during our recap episode. It just pains me to say this, that the Packers are going to be fine with Jordan Love. It's just the consistency is going to be there from him. He's, like you said, he's got the young weapons that are going to grow with him throughout their own careers, depending on, contract situations and shit like that, obviously. The biggest question mark has been the defense, and it has always been the defense for the Packers this entire season. Can they, hold Nick Mullins to under 400 yards, something that the goddamn, what team was this? The Seahawks, right?
Yeah.
Last week. Yeah. What they were able to do, or whoever it was, I forget who it was. What they were able to do. Yeah. Who did they just lose to?
It was.
Oh, the Lions.
soap poisoning. Christmas Story reference. Yeah, it was the Lions. It was the Lions.
Yeah, and it's just that's the biggest part is Nick Mullins can torch this defense. They can absolutely torch this defense of the Packers, and this can be, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Vikings are favorites, because the Vikings and Nick Mullins can absolutely torch this defense, even with missing Hawkinson for the rest of the season and Jordan Addison being banged up. Justin Jefferson is back, and Justin Jefferson was making catches last week that Justin Jefferson makes, like that only he can make, right? Like you saw the one against what was it, the Colts last year when they came back big against them, and he made that ridiculous catch. So I think they'll be fine in terms of weapons there, the Vikings. And Jordan Addison, what was it? Jefferson and Addison. Oh, okay. But yeah, and kind of like Bill said, Jair Alexander being suspended for this game, which can be huge in terms of playoffs for the Packers, not really the Vikings, in my opinion. It's mostly for the Packers, even though I still don't think the Packers or anyone else from the NFC North other than the Lions makes it. But yeah, man, I think the Vikings can be fine if they can torch this defense. They're looking like they're going to win, but I like Jordan Love much more than I like Nick Mullins, especially with more weapons, I guess, in a sense. And the Vikings defense blitzes, they get to the quarterback. I just think that the offensive line for the Packers and Jordan Love getting the ball out quick, I think it's a recipe for success. But again, Packers defense has to hold the fort down, dude. They have to hold it down.
I have a question, and I'm going to answer it
right
now. Hold on 1 second.
False. I'm going to go with false.
Hold on 1 second, guys.
And if the multiple choice, I'm going C.
Okay, so I don't know if you knew this, but do you know that the NFL opponents are set ahead of time?
The NFL opponents. What do you mean?
Like who each team plays next year? Okay, so I got it. They're future opponents. Yep, that's what I thought. Okay, so I pulled up New York's 2024 opponents, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They're playing, this is the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing the entire NFC North. Or they're playing the matching team from the North, which means that there's like the ranked match, which means that if the Packers, I'm going to give you a red and a blue pill here. I did the math. This is accurate, what I'm about to say. The red pill means that the Packers get to play against Aaron Rodgers next season because of where they will be on their division. The blue pill is make it to the playoffs this season. Play Aaron Rodgers next season, make it to the playoffs this season. The Packers have a choice to make.
Oh, it's playoffs all day, baby.
Playoffs?
It's playoffs all day. They want to make them. They could, honestly, if you're a Packers fan and really, if you're the Packers organization, if you're Jordan Love, you could give a fuck if losing or whatever the case may be means you get to play Aaron Rodgers next year at the Jets. Who cares, man? All that matters is this season and can you make the playoffs? And if that is a yes, you have a better shot at making the playoffs, winning this game. Fucking
they would still need to beat the Bears to remain in third.
And I hope the Bears destroy them. But regardless, yeah, dude, I'm taking the playoff pill all day for sure. Like Aaron Rodgers, that's going to be what's that?
I want that game so bad.
It would be awesome because you saw when Favre did the same thing, right? And he came back as a Jet to Lambeau. Like it was a big thing. And it was like, again, another storyline that the NFL and the entire media was talking about leading up to that game. So it'll be a huge game. Don't get me wrong. But if you're the Packers, who gives a shit? Let's go to the playoffs, baby. Let's go today, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And
I remember I did hear Pat McAfee and them talking about it when they were talking to Aaron Rodgers too.
Really?
So that was exciting. Yeah.
I didn't catch that, but I'm definitely going to check it out. And Bill was saying about his Giants. He was like, please tell me that there's a game against the Rams at MetLife. or
SoFi.
In SoFi.
Mm-hmm.
And I pulled it up for him really quick just because he's been sticking with us all day.
Of course.
And your future opponents, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers, Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, Cleveland Browns, Cowboys twice, Eagles twice, of course, Saints, Bucks, Ravens, Bengals, an NFC North team, an NFC South team, Philadelphia Eagles, and the last one is an NFC West team, TBD. So that's going to be determined based on where your seating is. So look where the Rams are in their division and try to see if you guys can be in that same position, first, second.
Nice.
The Rams are not. Are the Rams in the Seahawks are second?
No, the Rams should be second, and
Really?
they are. Yeah, they're both 8-7. The Rams and the Seahawks. The division, the Rams easily have that one 4-1 versus 1-4 of the Seahawks. That's why they're up there.
Okay, so the Rams and Seahawks have the same record, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Rams are in second.
So if the Rams or if the Seahawks end up with the better record than the Rams and the Giants finish their season in third, which they will because the Jets have a worse record, then the game would be at SoFi.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on that. If the Giants and NFC West, the Rams stay at 3, you're definitely going to a Giants-Rams game next year. I'm glad we looked into that for you.
And if not, Bill, I can take a flight up to Seattle. We'll go to the we'll go to the Seahawks Giants game together. Let me know. Hit me up. Hit me up on the X.
Hit me up on the X. Even though I never. Oh, if they end up playing Seattle, yeah,
exactly.
And it will be at the NFC West team. So
there you go.
No,
there you go.
Although, never mind. I was gonna say, although they all say at. No, only half of them do. I just checked. But that's it, man. That is the end of our week 18, week 17 predictions. A lot of fun going through it. Agreed on a good chunk of it, but we had our disagreements sprinkled in there. Starting off with 2 disagreements to kick off the segment with me.
Off the bat.
Probably the most shocking pick is taking the Dolphins against the Ravens, but also the New England Patriots against Buffalo. That was another big upset. And then I think we said that we could see the Panthers one happening, but probably not. And then you and I both taking the Eagles, both taking the Rams this week. And the last one we agreed both on was the 49ers to dominate the Commanders. So good time, man.
Good time. And like Kyle said, those were our predictions. Ding, 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 ding.
Why is his fingers so spread apart?
Ding, ding, because she's a fortune teller, bro. She's a fucking fortune teller, bro. That's us. Those are our fingers.
I see aliens playing basketball with Michael Jordan and Looney Tunes. Man, this woman's crazy. Let's get out of here.
I see the Giants making the playoffs in 2093.
2097. The Giants will win the Super Bowl. Broncos have a 61.5% chance of winning, and they don't even know who Jared Stidham is. What a dumb analytic.
Love it. Love it. All right. Those are our predictions. Kyle, what do you got? What do you got for us for the chives?
For my chives?
For the little topping of the Only Football Podcast 100th episode. What do you got for the chives?
All right. So for my chives, we know that there's been a good rivalry between the Bengals and the Chiefs, although this year no Joe Burrow is going to kind of make it not as great as it normally would be. Now, you might be wondering what kind of the beef is. Well, do you remember when Jamar Chase was like, Pat who? Pat who?
Yep.
When he was like, do you think Joe Burrow's the best quarterback? He's like, Joe. And then he's like, what about Pat? And he was like, Pat who? So Joe Burrow has definitely talked a lot of shit, with the Chiefs, and they asked him about this game, and you're going to be surprised on his answer. This is what he said. They could take it how they want to take it. I don't care. What did he say? Well, here we go. When asked about what stands out to Jamar Chase about the Chiefs secondary, the Bengals wide receiver was crystal clear with his assessment. If I'm being honest, nothing. If Chase is concerned how his words might be taken, he's not showing it. They can take it how they want it. I don't care. Asked about Chief safety Brian Cook, who played in college ball in Cincinnati, Chase didn't exactly throw bouquets at the player. I don't even know who that is, Chase said. Is that number 6? I don't know, man. Just a guy to me. He ain't Jesse Bates to me. Yep. He's just a guy to me. He ain't Jesse Bates to me. You want me to go into comparisons? It's not the same. Just saying. The one Chiefs defensive back Chase appeared to praise was cornerback L'Jarius Sneed, whom Chase said the best player on their team. But Chase added that's because the other defensive backs aren't on Sneed's level. That's when they double everyone because they can't do it on one-on-one. Okay, so if that wasn't enough, the Chiefs know I'm good. They know how to play, as Chase said. That's what it is. But it's not like they got a superstar on the defense. So at the end of the day, there's only so much I can do myself, he said. I'm not like Iron Man. I can't throw the football to myself. It's a team sport at the end of the day. And I'm just adding fuel to the fire right now, Chase said. They're going to take this and run with it. Hope they put it in their locker. It's all right, though, as long as I'm mentally ready to play. Joe Burrow at the very end of this gives you a little glimpse into his life, into his psychology. We talk about people like Tom Brady finding motivation, finding fuel. I think this is a part of Jamar Chase's style where he says it right here at the end. It's all right, though, as long as I'm mentally ready to play. What's all right, though? The fact that he's adding fuel to the fire. He's putting this out there in order to feel like his back's against the wall. Like, okay, you talk the talk, now you got to walk the walk. But he put himself in this uncomfortable position because that's how he finds his edge as a competitor. So this is going to be a lot of fun because at first you see this game and you're like, no, Joe Burrow, whatever. But I respect Jamar Chase for making this game very interesting, just with a couple comments. This is way cooler than those yellow towel comment that wasn't even a big deal. This is actually
those little yellow towels. Shut up.
This is actually talking shit.
Yeah, and I love it, man. I love the rivalry. It's become it has definitely become a rivalry with Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Jamar Chase, AFC championships, playoffs, regular season matchups. It's great, and I love it for the sport. I love the shit talking because really, at the end of the day, these guys both they all have respect for each other. They both play at the same level. They're both very good, right? Both these teams. So the respect is there. It's just you gotta add to it. You gotta be like Conor McGregor, man. You gotta sell those pay-per-views, baby. You gotta sell those views on Sunday, on NFL Sunday. So I love it. And here's Bills Chives. How long before Packers fans begin chanting "Fire Barry" like the Steelers fans did with Matt Canada? And Bill, great question. He's gone in the offseason. He's got to be gone. And I don't know if the Packers are going to chant that, but they're definitely tweeting it. They're definitely talking about it at home. And the offseason is probably when Barry is going to depart from that Packers team.
What are we talking about? Joe Barry?
Is he the defensive coordinator for the Packers?
Yeah,
probably then.
Okay. I was a little confused for a second because I didn't realize that he was in such bad standing with Green Bay.
Dude, as bad as the defense has been, I mean, he's the guy. He's the Matt Canada to the Packers defense. You know what I mean? Like, he is that guy, and I think he's been there for a while now. If I'm not mistaken, he has been. Let's see, with the Packers.
Matt
Damn it.
LaFleur said the plan was to keep Joe Barry for the rest of the season. That was reported by The Athletic. The Packers just allowed a season high in points to the NFL's worst team. Well, this is dumb, man, because
2021. Yeah,
they're saying
2021.
that the Panthers are the NFL's worst team, but they're not even considering that the fact that maybe Frank Reich is a Reich.
Reich. Rick.
Apparently, he's just a really bad coach. Look at the Colts now without him.
Mhm.
I mean, the Panthers have been a better football team. It's like math, right? If you put in a variable, you remove the constant,
Mhm.
or there's constants and variables, and we're saying that the constant is that the Panthers are the worst team, but there's a variable that they're a totally new team now that they have a new coach. Like, yes, they still have the same talent limitations, but they don't look the same. So I wouldn't be so quick to be like the Panthers or the Packers just gave up the most yards to the worst offense in the league. We don't really know who they are without their head coach. We're still learning about them, and we probably won't learn anything because there's only 2 games left in the season, and then they're going to start a whole new process over. But yeah, the Packers, they need to win out if they want to make the playoffs, and the defense does need to improve for that to happen. So, but regardless, they're probably going to already, if there's articles written about this, then they're already chanting it most likely. Good chives, Bill. I didn't know that.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, he's the Matt candidate to the Packers defense. So yeah, he's gone this offseason, man. He's gone. Like Bill said, a lot of criticism too.
I did see Tom Grassi in a short that kept saying, like, why are you playing so far off? Why are you playing so far off? So I did see him complaining about that. And it's weird to me that I know the name of another team's defense coordinator when 2 years ago I had no clue. Dude, I feel like before we started this show, I knew like every head coach, but that was like it. Now it's like I know like where people are getting elevated from,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Yeah. 100%. Like I
which
just
team they
know
come from.
more. I just know more. And that's just that again, that's just a product of doing this podcast.
Streaming the draft. I know like
exactly.
all of these players because I'm like, oh, I remember when they were drafted.
Yep. And it's awesome. It's awesome little stat that we got. So but that was the episode number 100. And you know, we're at 100. Want to thank obviously Bill, who's been an OG, along with Ginger, along with KC, Steve, even though we haven't seen Steve in a while, like all these guys, little E-Dub, newcomers like Andy and EBK and you know, just everyone that has made it possible for us to get to 100 episodes, and as well to almost close to 500. We're at 463 right now. We're so close to 500 subscribers on YouTube, which would be huge for us. So please, if you have not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button. And if you like us a lot, hit that share button and share us with your friends and family and coworkers and people who don't even really know you or like you, but be like, hey, go check this out. Because, you know,
buddies.
yeah. Some acquaintances, if you will. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Michael Jordan, Michael Scott. So again, thank you guys for allowing us to do 100 episodes of the Only Football Podcast, and for, you know, for us being where we are right now with your help, obviously. Bill said, thanks for the show, guys. It's nice to have someone keep me company and talk football. I appreciate the hell out of you. And Bill, we appreciate the hell out of you too, man. Always do. Bill's always hitting us up on X too, and we're always sending them back. So, you know, we like to interact with people who, you know, subscribe to us and watch us and listen to us.
I have one last chive, and that is the NFL releases their QB index, which ranks quarterbacks 1 through 32, but there's like 35 because, you know, some teams have 2 quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, number 1 and number 2 is going to be a matchup this week, and that's Tua Tagovailoa and Lamar Jackson.
Oh,
Tua is actually ranked number 1. They finally did it. The Dolphins defeated a team of value, and now Lamar Jackson is at 2. And he's probably really, really pumped about this game. But it's cool when you think about that. The number 1 and number 2 quarterback going head-to-head. And when you look at the MVP 15 finalists, here's 2 of them right here. And since Dak kind of stepped aside a little bit, if Tua has a big game and they beat Ravens, all of a sudden Tua might be the favorite to win.
It can very much be that way. Kyle, you got anything for our 100th episode for everybody here?
But that was it.
Did you not just hear my extra chives that I did?
No, I did. I loved it. Like it was awesome. No. Seriously, thank you guys. 100, it's a big number. I'm glad that you asked me about that and we didn't just brush over it. Because I would have probably thought later, I wish I would have said something on that 100th episode. So no, thank you guys. I can't believe that we made it here when we started this. I knew that I loved this, but I didn't know what it would look like. It's just always been like, do the next stream. Yeah, I didn't really zoom out and go, we're going to do 100 episodes in the next couple years, but we did. And I've had a blast and gone through a lot of stuff in that time frame. A lot of trials and tribulations, as Russ would say.
You've gone through.
We've definitely gone through some tests and gone through some trials.
Definitely have gone through some tests and some trials, and this show is a big part of something I had to look forward to kind of get me through a lot of that stuff. So yeah, I feel like I need this channel just as much as the next person. And that's what we are. We're a group. We're family.
Can't agree more.
Can't agree more, Kyle. And again, thank you to everyone who subscribes, listens, watches, comments, likes, all that stuff. And you guys could go follow us on X at And Now Rick. You can also go follow the Only Football podcast page at Only Football KR. We are working on making it the Only Football podcast, and we will update it as such. Kyle, where can they follow you on X?
You can follow me at BOYZ Boys in the Hood. No, I'm just kidding. You can follow me at FTBLONLY PODCAST, like the word podcast and like the word only, and like the most important 4 letters of football, FTBL. Thank you guys in advance for the million follows that you guys are going to provide me. And don't worry, I won't let you down. I'm going to make sure your feed is loaded with all the goods.
All right. Well, thank you guys again for tuning in. And we're going to be streaming some football this weekend. So make sure to tune in. Kyle, always a good time, brother. Always a good time.
See ya.
See ya.